and I'm watching the rise. And I wouldn't say I'm shocked, cause I'm hardly surprised. This one's for the ride, this one's for who knew I'd make it, just needed some time. This one's for my wife, could've left 1,000 times just about my side. This one's for the grind, I knew it would happen.
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Randy Kaye, and I'm the host of the Caught Up podcast. Today we have Associate Head Coach of the University of Texas, El Paso, Brittney Matta. Although she is originally from Northern California, she is very familiar with the Arizona softball landscape, where she played and coached at Arizona State and spent 4 years transforming the South Mountain Community College program. Brittney, it's always great to see you. Thanks for taking the time to catch up.
Yeah, no problem, Randy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How are things going?
Good. It's busy. It's that time of year where, a season concludes and then you start building another one. And so we're heavily getting into the transfer portal stuff and recruiting and, the recruiting off season and just trying to build up what we did last year and get it going so that we can have 7 to 10 more wins next year. That's the goal. So.
For sure. It kind of feels like for us after PGF or after our last nationals, it's literally you have your meetings or your group, goodbyes.
Yep.
I head back to my hotel and I'm literally on my phone for the next 2 weeks straight.
Yeah,
exactly. Is it pretty much no different for you guys?
Yes, no different. And it might be more than 2 weeks. Right now it's just a sit and wait game. You get your feelers out to those kids right away, but it's going to be a lot of sitting around and waiting, especially with the dead period starting Tuesday for the World Series. We go back down into lockdown mode and then you're just kind of twiddling your thumbs. And so we're hoping to get a few kids on campus this weekend and get some movement going before that happens.
I was going to say, because when was the transfer portal? When did that open up?
That opened up Sunday. This last week. Yeah.
And so you have, a little over a week to see some names, make some connections, probably do a little bit of due diligence with, your peers and see what kind of kids or what kind of athletes are out there.
Yeah. See what's out there and, just wait, essentially it's have the conversations and wait. So it's
hurry up and wait.
All up to them. Yes, exactly.
Exactly. So really no rest, maybe I guess during the World Series, you guys will be able to kind of just decompress a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be able to decompress a little that week, watch some games, kind of get our side of the stuff, like, inventory and all the stuff cleaned up and kind of regroup. And so that'll be a good time. I'm excited to watch, college softball. Obviously, anytime that's on, it's a good time. So
there's so many games. I almost feel like, to be honest with you, it's a little bit of softball like overload for me because, I try to sit down and watch a game, but then I see, that there's this score, pops up on X, or, I see this game and I just find myself jumping back and forth and I never really get into any one game.
I do that too. It's
there's
crazy.
A ton of games on. Does Ava like to watch games?
She does, actually. She does like to watch games. I pick her up from school tomorrow, so she's on summer break and she'll come back with me. Our first recruiting event is actually in Hawaii, so she gets to go with me to Hawaii for that. So we'll be there for like a week. So it'll be fun. It'll be a good summer. Yeah.
What event is that?
That is through Southern Force, Dale Palmer. He's putting one on out there. It's for mainland kids and kids from the island, just to kind of get seen and get recruited. I think there will be about 200 kids there. So it should be pretty exciting. We have, I want to say Cal will be there, maybe Nevada, Cal Poly, myself, a couple other schools, a little bit more Western so that, they don't want to go too far. So we're trying to kind of, cater to those island kids a little bit more, but there's definitely some mainland kids too. So, and it's not bad. It's a good setup, morning camp. And then I get the rest of the day to kind of hang out in Hawaii. So
wow.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't suck. Hey mom, I want to go to this camp. Where's it at? Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Not too hard of a sell there.
Right. So let's talk about you personally. Growing up, from what I read, you've grown up in Woodland.
Yeah, Woodland, California.
Yep. Okay. And tell me about that growing up, playing sports and just what your family life was like.
All right. Well, it's a smaller town. It's not, anything big, a little farming community, about a half an hour north of Sacramento. So in order for me to play, at the level that I wanted to play, I pretty much had to get out of Woodland and go to Sacramento or Roseville or, somewhere kind of relevant to get my name out there. Luckily, I played all my years growing up. I played pretty closely with Christina Merida. So Brian Merida's the head of the AASA Merida organization out there in Northern California, and we were pretty close friends. So I played on some of his teams. We played on Roseville Heat, played on Sac Sting. Growing up, so it wasn't like there was a lack of teams. It just you had to try a little bit harder being from a smaller town. So.
Right.
My dad coached baseball growing up, so that helped. We were, always around games and always around stuff, had stuff going on.
I saw that. Did I see that he coached Dustin Pedroia?
Yeah, he did. So that was
awesome.
That was really fun. I mean, watching good baseball, growing up, that was just super cool. And he actually obviously went to ASU, and so I kind of followed in his footsteps there as well. So it was just a cool storyline, but a smaller town just always had to work a little bit harder to be seen and be recognized, I think. And, that's kind of been my, I guess, underlying theme is, you're probably not going to take the route that everybody else does. We had some big time players out of that Northern California area, but I wasn't one of them. So I just had to try a little bit harder at just about everything I did. And, it's paid off in every aspect, ASU, South Mountain, where I am today. So just try to keep that, where I came from, just always in the back of my mind. So
that's awesome. And then you go from, being around baseball, around your dad, watching your dad coach baseball, to some baseball guys at Arizona State.
Yep.
Was Coach there when you first got there?
Yes, Coach was there when I first got there. I was recruited by some schools in California, some schools in Texas, couple schools back east, and then I just decided, I'm going to take a little tour. My junior year summer, just took a little tour of some campuses and ended up. It actually was the end of the softball season. So we went to Texas, saw a game, went to ASU on the way back, saw a game. Jim Badia at that time was, walking around and introduced himself, and I just loved ASU. I fell in love with it immediately when I stepped on campus. We saw a baseball game while we were there, and softball as well. They played Northwestern that day, and so it was just like a good feeling, a good time. And so when I got there my senior year, I decided I was going to put everything into that. I was going to put everything into walking on, or trying to walk on and do that process. And so I had a 2-week tryout for coach, and got invited back to the team. And that's probably the best thing softball wise that ever happened to me. It was a really great time, a really great experience. And, the rest is just, it's because of that. So,
it's funny. I actually ran into Jim Badia. I think it was last year in Florida, 2 years ago in Clearwater.
Okay.
I have a picture him and I took together. I hadn't seen him in years, and he still looks the same, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure, wearing his flip-flops.
Yeah. So, that was interesting. And then, and then just to be at Arizona State, I mean, because I have a little familiarity with, the program and a little insight too. And man, it seemed like a special place and a special time. And you said everything else is because of that. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, player wise, coaching wise, adult, like what is, or all the above? Like, what do you mean by that exactly?
I really think it's all of the above. And I think a lot of people can attest to the fact that there's some things in your life that kind of shape you, right? That was completely the case with ASU. I mean, being asked to, be back on as a walk-on, just put in the hard work. I didn't touch a bat for my whole first year. But I learned a ton. There was just a ton going on. There was good softball happening. And so you learn all of those inner workings of just what should be done correctly, what shouldn't be done. And then, getting the opportunity to kind of run some offensive stuff with Coach Wagner and then go on and run some camps, and it just flourished before my eyes. And it was I was given the opportunity to do a lot of different things that I don't think many programs allow their assistants or their grad assistants, especially to do stuff like that. And so it was really cool. It was just a good time. And then, he was really the first one that was like, you should explore coaching. And so, I did. And so I think I owe that to him. And my coaching does not make who I am, but it's a large part of it. Right. And so I find myself talking to like my friends about, softball and the coaching industry and being in it, and, how that leaks into how we parent our kids and all that. And it made up who I am as an adult and in life, and, how I go through my day and how I try to be just about the best at everything I can do. And so I really do, it is because of that and because of him and his family that I am doing what I'm doing. And so, and I try to do my best at whatever I do as well. So that goes back into it. It all falls back into that time.
Yeah. And I could see I would pay money to be able to go sit with Coach Myers and watch, practice or get insight into, his practice plans or, the detailed stuff that they talk about between practice and how they figure out what they want to work on. I mean, I think we do that, but it would be really interesting to me to sit there and try to go, okay, this is how it's really done.
Yeah. And I think it would be great just to watch a game with him nowadays, because the game is so much different from what it was back then. I mean, you saw those games, it's just like a different vibe. And so I would just like to sit and watch a game with him and see, what coaching stuff he has to say during that game. It would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Do you ever keep in touch with him?
Yeah, I do. I talk to him pretty regularly. I'm always updating him on stuff and, talking to him and keeping him in the loop of where I am and what I'm doing with our program right now. And he's been a huge advocate for me in every position that I've been in, whether it's with actually, getting the job as a reference or just, a personal, kind of cheer system behind me. So it's been great.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing to have Clint Myers as your, on your reference on your resume.
Well, that and just in my corner in general. I mean,
right.
we might be getting to the point in time where, he might not be as relevant on a reference letter because people just don't know, which is sad. But it's great for me to just be able to know I can pick up the phone and text him and I'm going to get an answer back, or, I could call Casey or, any of them and just dive into what, hey, I have this situation that I'm going through. I have this scenario. Tell me about how you would deal with it, So it's great. I mean, he's one of the best to do it no matter what. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you mentioned Wags. I haven't really talked to him much in a few years. Obviously it looks like he's doing a great job at South Dakota. And you always kind of think that maybe he'll, pop up somewhere else or even head back, but he seems to be happy. Do you ever talk to Coach Wagner?
Yeah, I do. I keep in touch with him as well. I mean, it just goes back to that first coaching staff that I was brought up into. Kirsten Vogt is another one that I'll reach out to, and, starting to see her little girl coming up through the works and in the club ball world too is kind of cool. But yeah, I'll reach out to all of them. Definitely, always going to send the text messages on Coach Appreciation Day, all that kind of stuff. But with Wags, it's a special bond that we have. I mean, he taught me just about everything that he knew and he gave me a lot of trust. And so I try to, let him do his thing and we'll just always go right back to where we left off, kind of just, just, hey, what's up? How's it going? Or, hey, can I get your opinion on a bat? Or, hey, what's up? What's it looking like this summer? So it's just really cool. I mean, we spent a lot of time together and that's why one of the things that I try to focus on recruiting wise is you're going to spend a ton of time with these people. And back in the day, it was how you build that loyalty, right? Like you're going to be here for 4 years. And so you want to enjoy the people that you're around. And so you want to try to get to know them on a little bit of a deeper level and not just, hey, like how do you throw your rise ball, right? So it all goes back to that. And so it's just cool. I mean, it's really good to have those three in my corner. Chuck Darcy was another one that I regularly go to. So it's cool. There was Scott Woodard, obviously you had him on a couple weeks back, just good people and good people to know in the softball world. It's awesome.
Yeah. Chuck, I haven't seen him in a long time. But I'm going to tell you, like having Scott on, I mean, I was doing this and I wanted to do this and I thought about doing this for probably a year before I started. And then of course there's so many other things like, I mean, the technical piece of it, like microphones and, headsets and what software and how do you, stream to YouTube. I mean, there's just a ton of technical stuff. And so I was like, I'm going to do this. And then I have a list of probably 100 people, or if not more, that I'm like, I want to reach out to every one of these individuals at some point. And Scott was on there and he was probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 by the time. And it wasn't in particular order, but just, he happened to pop up and I thought about it and I shot him a message. And I was a little nervous, but I'm going to be honest, like after him and I did that, the conversation was so, in my opinion anyway, I felt like it was so good and he did such a good job of kind of shedding a little bit of light on the way he looks at things and the stuff that he focuses on for his teams, with the teams that he works with. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
I'm sure he's great.
He's great. And Scott, he loves to talk.
Yeah.
He gave me so many great pieces. Like,
that's good.
I don't know if you've seen them, a lot of them, but like there were some really good ones, especially when I had asked him about posting or not posting on X. And he's like, basically, well, if you don't tag, about tagging. And he said, well, if you don't tag me, then I ain't got to worry about you because you ain't interested. And so I just thought it was really funny. He didn't hold back.
Yeah. He's cool.
Let's talk about your so you spent time at Arizona State, played there for 2 years, and then it looks like you had a stop at Highland.
Yeah.
Highland High School locally, Mesa Community College. And then I remember you doing a little bit of club stuff too, but all of a sudden I see you pop up at South Mountain. And of course, I mean, I don't know much about, or I didn't know much about, the community college game. I knew that PC was good historically, but it just seems like in the 4 years you were there, like you really transformed, that program at South and probably had one of the best handles I've seen out there, Southside Brit. I thought that was great. Tell me about the decision to kind of move in that direction and what it was like those years from Highland to Mesa and a little bit of club and then, and then of course South.
Yeah, I mean, it was a grind. I didn't ever want to be a high school coach. I didn't want to just be like dabbling in it. I wanted to be back to a certain level, and it's always been that Division I level. And so just whatever stops I could make along the way to gain community following, to kind of build up my coaching resume and to just jump in where I could was always the goal. And so when I was at Highland, it was a short stint, got them, from bottom to top. Same thing, Mesa Community College, Grady did a great job there, but kind of just trying to feel a part of, what they were doing and make them better. And then when South came up, it was great. It was a perfect opportunity because I was working in the Maricopa district system. And so I was able to add a lot to my resume, and that was, kind of the admin side of things was really good for them. I think they thought that was intriguing. And so I moved over to South, and it was just a great time. I mean, I've always wanted, and I've always said this, I want to eventually take over my own program one day at the D1 level. And I want it to be a program that's, a mid-major, maybe a little bit lower level. And I want to just blow the thing up. Like it's always been fun to me. And so I plan on doing that, still, but that was what I did at South. I treated it like it was a Division I program. I treated it like it was, we were going to a regional that year, like my very first year. And so it was a really great time. And I, another person that I kind of, attribute everything to is Todd Easton for hiring me there and giving me kind of my first shot at doing it. And, it was just a fun ride. It was immediate, like get the kids in that I knew could do it. And then it was just, and I mean, PC, right? Like Hines and his program, they drove me to just keep doing better. Like it was always find a way to beat PC, get the kids in, find a way to beat PC. And then that final year, we were able to do it, 6 times, which isn't easy.
Right.
So it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
What did you learn once you actually took over your own program? What was probably the most surprising thing for you, or the biggest thing that you learned as being, a head coach of your own program?
Well, I think the community college level really sets you up for success because you get to do a little bit of everything. I mean, it was a complete shock to me that, on some of the days, like no one was ever going to come over and like drag our field, and like there was things like that was like, oh, okay. Like if I want this to happen, I have to personally do it. And, I think that was the biggest thing. And I did everything from, applications with the students all the way to, winning games. And so it was literally everything in between that. It was fundraising, it was advising, it was all of the things that make a program I did there. And so, I think it's the best way to go because you learn how to do all of it. Anywhere you work this day and age, you can walk in and your supervisor could know 0 things about what you do. And they just delegate and tell you this is what you're doing. It's really benefited me because I've been able to tell, any assistants that I have like, hey, we're going to do it this way and actually teach them how to do it. And that I think works wonders for programs, to kind of start at the top and work your way down as far as knowing the intricacies of all the functions daily. So, and then as far as, being surprised, I guess one of the other things was just, it wasn't necessarily like how hard you had to recruit, but obviously there's D1 programs, right? And then there's D2s and D3s, and just being at a junior college and taking that program over, it was like always somebody was like, oh, it's just a junior college. Or, oh, it's not PC. So you had to you just had to work harder, right, to get a kid to kind of buy into your program. And just when I thought like, oh, I have, this kid that's going to choose like me over someone else, it was, nope, I'm going with them and go back out there and recruit some more. And, that final year going into that final year, we had 10 kids leave over the summer, and I had to find like almost a whole new team over that summer entering into the 2023 season. And so for us not having really anybody returning, no coaches returning, just myself, that was a huge turnaround that year. So it's just something to be proud of. I think being able to do it, you put it in the back of your brain, like, okay, I've done that. It could happen again. So, yeah.
Sometimes you get a bunch of kids and people around you that believe in you, and it seems like there's 0 chance of a good outcome, and great things can happen. That's where memories are made. Would you say that's probably your best memory at South?
I definitely
pulling it back
so.
Together.
Yeah. Pulling it back together, doing it for myself, like I think a lot of people, they doubt, right? Just that's a natural tendency. Like, oh, I don't know if she'll be able to do it. But that was my favorite thing, is just showing everybody like, no, I can do it. There's not, and that's why at that point in time, I felt after that year, I had achieved really everything that I could have achieved there besides winning a national championship at that level. Like, let's go find something new. I just always try to keep the ball rolling, always try to find something that I can do differently and not get stuck in one place for too long.
Yeah. A new challenge. And, and then you make the jump to UTEP, and what is your role there? I know associate head coach, but like, what does that role entail?
Well, I mean, I'm the associate head coach, recruiting coordinator, pitching coach. So that was new. Pitching coach was new for me. And being a catcher, I thought, why not? There's a ton of, like there's a ton of major league managers that were catchers that do it, right? And there's a ton of, pitching coaches out there that are catchers, and so I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. Really the expectation was to get our team ERA under like a 4, right? And so we ended with a 4.42 this year. We had 7 shutouts. We had the best team ERA since 2010. And so it wasn't like, and I'm not a pitcher, right? So it wasn't like I was going out and kind of reinventing the wheel or saying like, oh, this is what we're going to do. This is set in stone. It was really just giving these kids who wanted the ball. They had bought in, they wanted the ball, they wanted an opportunity, give those kids the opportunity to throw in a big situation and say, these are the things that are going to help you. And so we just cleaned up. We had a lot of talks about body efficiency. We had a lot of talks about movement, location, pitch stacking, how we could go beat teams essentially. And I think the biggest thing for us is just a confidence piece. Like you have to create your own confidence, especially as a pitcher, because the leadership starts in the circle and it ends in the circle every time the ball comes back to the circle. And so just trying to get them to buy into creating their own confidence and trying to get the job done by themselves when maybe the team was struggling behind them. That was huge for us this year. And so we brought in a lot of pieces, but besides pitching, the associate head coach role is kind of just like, I'm TJ's wingman. I'm in on the meetings. I do academic stuff. I oversee the academics, which we ended with a 3.65 team GPA for the whole year. So that's great. But it's just, doing all the inner workings of being a head coach without being the head coach. And so, we had a couple opportunities to coach some games this year with him being gone for some stuff. And it was fun. It was a good opportunity for me to just be there at that level and do it and see like, hey, you can do it, So, there's a lot of things that go into that role, but that's kind of what I do on a daily basis. I think one of the biggest things is just being relative to the players on the team, like, hey, I'm the only female on staff. Come in, hang out with me. Like, let's talk. Let's go grab coffee, like whatever it is, that just make them feel better. I think that's been a huge, huge thing for them.
You mentioned the pitching side, and you said that it wasn't really any one thing that that you did, but from a technical standpoint, I know you said there wasn't, but is there any other like pitch stacking? How are you measuring that? How are you, how do you identify what stacks are working or what's not working? Are you going any deeper than just, sitting behind a net and watching, or I'm just curious.
I mean, obviously we started out doing a lot of scrimmages in the fall, and both of what we thought were going to be our aces, they weren't really sharp. They were just kind of throwing balls, a lot of balls, right? And it's, for me, it's getting into that area where you're making balls look like strikes and making strikes look like balls, and how they enter the zone and catching corners. And so we do a lot of diving into the film and stuff. And so really when we go into the pitch stacking scenario for the week, we've done our back work on the team and what they look like and who our opponent, what they're going to do. And we give it kind of our best matchup against who we think in our bullpen can go and get those outs. And then we really just give them all the tools they need. We have a good system. We print out this big sheet that has like all the hitters and what they do and all their percentages and like take first pitch strike, all that. And so you're setting them up for success, but then you're also allowing them to kind of go in and in a bullpen setting, we're saying like, all right, we're going to pitch stack based on this kid being up to bat. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We got to the point where, and these are younger kids. We had one experienced kid, but we had the rest were young. And they, at one point were like, it's a 1-1 count. So they go and they throw a ball like right down the middle. And it's like, oh, let's just start over. And it's like, no, we're not starting over. That ball just got hit 400 feet. Like you just gave up a home run. Now it's the next batter. This is the real scenario. Like, we're not just going to start a count over because you failed, So just kind of pointing those things out and making them work harder. I as a catcher was always, let's work harder. And, I think there's like an accountability piece. There's a good relationship between a pitcher catcher, and the accountability piece for me is the biggest part, because the pitchers, will get kind of in that realm, and you know this working with them. They kind of get into that routine of being a little bit like they need to be treated a little bit of a certain way, need to be coddled a little. You have to be a little bit careful with what you say, what you don't. And from the beginning, I was like, nope, we're not doing that. Like, I was a catcher. Let's go. You get the ball, you throw it. Like, you throw it over my head, go pick up your ball, like, so it's just
some accountability.
And it's just kind of that attitude too. Just, it builds trust. And I think it really does help them open up to you too. Like, those pitchers and our catchers at the end of the year were at the point where they were just one with themselves, like they could tell each other anything. And that's really important, because you need to know what you're throwing, and the catcher needs to know it as well. Right. So if I have an idea in my brain and I say like curveball to the outside half, I need to know exactly what that curveball is going to do. And the catcher does too. And so just being on the same page and that accountability factor has helped a lot.
Yeah. And you can't, like, we always tell catchers, like, you got to control the game, you got to make your catcher better. But if that relationship hasn't been built, or that expectation and that standard hasn't been set by you from the very beginning, then, because that takes time, right? I mean, they need time to hear feedback versus criticism from someone else.
Definitely.
And I'm like you. I'm like pretty direct with our kids. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit too direct, but the one thing I know is that, like, I don't think we have a whole lot of, I think we owe it to them to be honest and say what it is that we really think.
Yeah. And we're not doing anyone any favors by kind of beating around the bush either. I mean, at the end of the day, if they know, like, hey, he let me know and there's no question about it, then they can go out and work. But if there's a question, there's always going to be that self-doubt and, what do I need to do to get better and all that. And that doesn't harvest any good feelings either. So just being honest is the best. For sure.
And so associate head coach, pitching coach, you said you help with some academic stuff. You're not doing anybody's math for them or anything like that, are you?
No. Geez, that would be bad. They don't want me to do their math for sure.
That's true.
No, so I'll have weekly meetings with our academic team, and it's really just, are they going to their mentor meetings? Are they doing their homework? Are they maintaining good grades? Do they have good time management skills? And we just partner with them. We go into the library, and I have a weekly meeting with our academic advisor and the director, and we just say, like, yep, our team's good. And luckily our girls have been amazing. They don't, they are very responsible adults for the most part. And, we have some hiccups every now and then, but it's just, again, it's staying on them, and you've got to love them through life. And so if you do that, and you're, the prime example of this is, and I'm going to name drop here, but Maddie Mendoza, one of your kids, she latched onto me from a young age, and she's always been there. And so I could go months without talking to the kid, and then she'd pop back up. And so when this whole thing came up at UTEP, she was there. She just was like, Coach, like, this is my video. This is what I want to do. I would love to go back home. And it's like, all right, Maddie, come along. Well, she has some moments where she needs to be loved through life a little bit more. And so you just have to grab them and show them this is what you have to do. Whether it's an extra meeting or an extra, like, hey, Maddie, come in and talk to me for 15 minutes. Like, that's just what we do. And she's flourishing. She's doing a great job. And so it's just, that's more of it. It's not anything like, oh, technical, like this is what we do to get a 3.65 GPA. It's just letting them know you're there and in their corner for the most part.
Yeah, I had a guy on the other day, and he's a mental performance coach, and he talks about the garbage time with players, and to him that means, not when they're batting, or not when you're at practice, or not in a meeting, but just the downtime whether you're in between drills or it's before practice, but you actually spend a little time chatting to them about life and talking to them about, how they're feeling or what they're doing and, what might be on their mind. And it sounds like, and I've known this about you, you seem like you always do a really good job, because I feel it from you, as a club coach, as somebody who, here in Arizona, I feel like you've always included me as like your peer, which I look at you as, somebody who's a college coach and, has played at a high level and been around high level coaches. So I mean, the relationship piece is key. And I think that's, aside from, your IQ, your game IQ, and what your knowledge is on the game, I feel like your relationship building is really a good thing that you do.
Thank you. Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's nice to hear that. I think we do put a little bit extra into that piece, especially when you're trying to take something that's at the bottom to the top. That has to be there, because if it's not, there's really nothing that you have left. There's nothing it's being built on, and so that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like fake. Like you just feel it, and you can tell when it's not genuine, and I feel it from you. So let's talk a little bit quickly about like this season. You guys had a great season. Like I said, I feel like every time I turn around, you guys are in a big series or played somebody, who was maybe a top team or a top program or considered a top program, and you would beat them or do well. 26-21 overall. And then the conference play, like, tell me about conference play. You guys were in some tight games. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the season and then like the end and how things unfolded for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. We played a pretty decent schedule. I think that moving forward, we need to play maybe a little bit some tougher teams early on, which this fall we'll play ASU, GCU, I think maybe Texas Tech in the fall to get that going, so that the girls see right away this is where we need to be, instead of taking them into, especially with a lot of freshmen coming in. It's kind of the idea behind it, but not just going in and saying like, that's what you need to be like, and lose to somebody and then just carry on. Right. So yeah, we had a good season. Conference play was tough. I mean, there's a lot of good teams out there. And, for being a conference kind of full of mid-majors, everyone has the same mentality as far as like, you got to go out and win a ball game, figure it out. And so it's really scrappy out there. The Middle Tennessee was tough. That was our first one. We were able to get a two wins and win the series there. And then just going on, every team that we played, it seemed like it was a pretty tough situation. And our hitting, for the most part, we lost some games from a hitting consistency standpoint, and we lost some games from a pitching standpoint. And so it was like, how do we get all of those things on a good, solid level going into, the conference tournament? And that was even close. It came down to us winning one game against Liberty, which we did. And then, sit around on Sunday and wait for somebody else to, win that last game. And they did. And it was like, oh, wow, we're going to a conference tournament. This is great. And so, obviously going into the conference tournament, you've played everybody before. So you kind of have that idea of like, all right, like we feel good about this, but it was just fun. It was a good time for us. It was good to kind of lead into the conference tournament with a little bit of confidence, beating everybody at least once. And then, going in there and just kind of playing free and easy. And, the first game didn't go as planned, and then we jumped right back and came from behind a 6-run deficit, ended up winning 7-6. And so just little things like that I think we can hang our hat on it at the end of the day and move on. And we have some really good traction going into the summer now. So it's like, hey, like UTEP won 15 more games than they did last year. How do we go increase that for next year? And it's really just, we built a good platform. Now we can use that going into this next year, trying to get some kids in that are bought in and want to be a part of making it even better. So, yeah.
The Conference USA Championships, I mean, the 2-0 loss to Louisiana Tech, I mean, they were hot early.
Yeah.
From what I remember, I watched, or I have a friend's daughter that plays on there. That's from Arizona, the Gilio kid. I'm not sure if you know her.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Willow kid, A1, Alana.
Yep.
Rogers. And so, yeah. And then the Liberty game, I look back and you guys you took 2 out of 3 in the regular season, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, we took one. So we only won one game. Yeah.
Okay. And
it was close, it was a close game, but we won.
But then they go on to the Athens regional and just make some noise.
Yeah. I mean, they're a good team. They're a good hitting team. I think last year they had more of the pitching pieces that they needed. But they're a pitcher away from winning the Athens regional, like they're
Yeah.
good.
I mean, what was it? A walk-off in the last
in
game?
the last inning. Yep. So,
Jeez.
I mean, they were a good team. And at one point in that elimination game against them, we were up 8-4. We put 4 on them really quick, and then we were up 8-4, and it was just back and forth. But again, it's that we didn't have the pitching depth that we needed this year. We didn't have really the depth from a hitting standpoint to say like, hey, I need you to pinch hit at this point, go in and do it. So there were some pieces missing, but it just allows you, everything you do in the coaching world, it allows you to see what you have, evaluate that, and then move forward. So we're going to be in a good spot. It's not, it's not anything that we're like freaking out over or anything, but we just got some work to do, and we'll get the pieces in. And the biggest part is getting the culture to a right place, getting the culture to a spot where no one's questioning you. You just, you come out and you do it, and you're trusting in your coaches to give you the tools to win.
Right. When you talk about pitching depth, I read an article not too long ago. I think it was probably a year old then, but it was about how the days of the full game ace are like, it's becoming tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what your thoughts are on that, but is that what you mean by you say you want more pitching depth? Are you going to be one of those coaches that looks for matchups throughout, like maybe one time through, or would you first of all, do you agree with that thought, and is that something that you're looking at doing yourself?
I agree with it. I think there's definitely less of them, and the reality of it is to get one of those kids that's going to go 3-4 games in a row at our level is tough. Right. And so you have to, the way that I think about it is I want a game 1 starter and I want a game 2 starter, and I want to be able to go to somebody else besides my game 2 starter and still win a game. Right. If something doesn't go right with that game 1 starter. And so, there's the hot person, you're starting. And then as soon as we start the game, somebody else is going to become the hot person, right? So we're going to you next if anything gets out of control. And then I like to take my starter and put her back in the bullpen and say like, hey, go work on this and tell me if it's salvageable for the day. Because, ideally, if you have a staff of 6 and you go 13 innings and you use all 6 of those kids, you still have a 7th because you can go back to the starter in our game. And so, so it's just kind of piecing it together. I need more middle inning depth kids. I need more kids that are going to be like, oh, okay, the score's 4-2 and the starter just, kind of gave up the lead. Give me the ball, just the mentality kids, the hardworking blue collar kids that go in and just get outs. And so that's what I need from that. But I do agree with that statement. It's not like it used to be, it's not the Taryn Mowats and the Katie Burkharts and of the world. It's much less than that now. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, our hitting game has evolved so much, and the technology piece, you can find what you need on Synergy for just about anybody. And so if you're good at what you do and you're data driven, you can go find the answers and figure out how to beat someone. So ideally the starter should be out pretty quickly, if you're doing your job. So more middle inning depth is just what I see.
Yeah. And are you the type of coach do you label your pitchers you're the 1, you're the 2, you're the 3, or is it more of a staff? Are you more of a staff minded coach?
I definitely take the approach of a staff, but I like to have them rank themselves, especially at the end of the year. And it usually pans out when you're having those open conversations with people and they know, oh, I haven't done my job in this scrimmage, or, oh, I did a really great job. The numbers, they line up. So last year we did that and it worked out well. And, it's like, okay, that's probably what you're going to see going into the spring then. And, and then there's no question about it too. It's like, remember, you ranked yourself that. It wasn't me. I said I agreed, but I didn't give you that number. You did. Yeah. And so it's just another accountability piece. But I mean, it tends to work itself out. And then we do a lot of matchup stuff that's like, hey, you're the 1, but on this given day, I'm going to go with a 3 because, it's going to be under bat speed and she works away from the barrel and all that kind of stuff. So it's just any given day could be somebody different.
Love it. Huh. How about pitching, your pitchers pitching to their team? Do you guys do that a lot?
We do that. Yeah. I try to save them in the spring as much as I can, from the standpoint of just rest and recovery and all that. But we do it a lot, especially in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's some that are worried about injuries, but I mean, they could get injured doing anything, it feels like. And,
exactly.
There's no better way to gauge them. And like you said, when you want to really see what the ball's doing, especially in a live situation, sitting behind the net, it's still really good.
Yeah.
You still get a really good idea.
Yep.
Let's talk really quick about like Arizona. Like you're really ingrained in Arizona. Like I said earlier, I feel like, Arizona softball.
Mm-hmm.
What, in your opinion, where is it at nationally? Like, are we in the mix? Are we behind? What's your overall thoughts of Arizona softball?
I would say we're very much in the mix. There I go again. Cause I just feel like I'm a part of it still.
You are.
We're in the mix, but I think that we could maybe be a little bit better. I feel like there's always too many watered down teams, if that makes sense. The game is becoming so watered down, and it's like, so I go out to a showcase, right? And the showcase maybe has like one good team in it. And it's just like, is this something that I'm going to keep coming to? And it's like, probably not,
Yeah.
And so I would like to just see like more, I guess, accountability from the coaches. It's not always great to go out and put your team that you just got together in like this big showcase and just think like somebody's going to get picked up in it. Cause that's not always the case, I'm going to go out there and I'm not just going to pick up the next Arizona kid. I'm going to go out there and see what there is. And if that doesn't fit into what we're looking for, I'm moving on. And so it's almost doing a disservice in some situations because there's a lot of them that are the showcases are just watered down and there's really no one that's presenting well. And it's sad to say, but there's a lot of those out there.
Right.
So in the mix nationally, yes, definitely. There's always, there are always going to be the top teams that are in the mix nationally. And there's a lot of good kids out of Arizona, those 4, 5, 6A schools. You could even get some from the 3As that are just stellar athletes. And, it'd be really good to get that one or the two that work out. But I just feel like we could be better in that area, right? Of putting better product out on the field when you're going to invite college coaches out there. So
is that more of a thing like we've got too many events or we don't have enough people going to those events at the same time?
Well, I think it's probably we don't have enough good events. Like the event that you put on at Valley Christian, great event, and obviously you're doing the work behind it, right? It's not just like, oh, everyone free for all come out to this thing. There's 50 kids that you're putting out there in front of these top coaches. And that's what needs to be done every single time. It's a lot of it has just become money grab, right? And so it's like, oh, we have 200 kids and only 5 of them are any good. And it's like, those are the ones that I want to stay away from. And so It's just putting on good events and, understanding that you can invite as many people as you want, but the more people you invite, the more watered down it's going to become. So just doing the work. And I think you do a great job of that. And always have just putting the work in behind the scenes to get it to be a good event. That's what I mean by that. Appreciate
that. Yeah. And I'll tell you, first of all, I'll give Eli the credit because he worked on that a bunch behind the scenes. So that's pretty much Eli's deal, but I'm happy to be associated with it. And obviously I did my part, but he worked really hard. And yeah, I mean, it sounds to me more like you're talking about maybe not the tournaments, but the camps.
Yeah. And there's tournaments out. Yeah. There's tournaments out there too, though, that I think like, okay, like, we have to just understand, like, let the coaches of those individual kids reach out to us and say like, hey, we're going to be at this spot, or like, the kid say, hey, we're going to be at this spot. But, if you're putting on this big thing and there's 20 teams there and those 20 teams don't necessarily have a very good rapport, maybe, maybe just pump the brakes a little bit. It's not, we're going to see them. If we want to see them, we're going to see them. So, yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of events. Like I think I posted on X the other day that, man, it seems like every weekend there's a national qualifier of some sort to some place. And it wasn't really a dig at anybody. It's just like, I just wish we could get back to, more practice. We inter squad a lot. We just had 4 teams at my high school, and there was a lot of talent out there. I know there's another 3 or 4 teams that'll be at a high school this weekend, and they're choosing to do that over going and playing in an event. I like to do that for multiple reasons. Number one, I get a chance to see the kids in the org.
Yeah.
But also I get to control my day. I get to decide when I get there, when I play, when I get to go home.
Yep.
And it's, so much, we save so much money doing it. So
yeah.
I think it's a win-win. What about, you said you felt it was watered down. I mean, I totally agree with that. I think we're all working to try to improve. The one thing, what do you think about, and you may not be involved in this or may not see this, what about the professionalism of the club coach? Because Dave King talks a lot about it now. He talks about the club coach becoming a professional in itself, and that coach or that program becomes professional. Do you see that happening, more people being more professional in this? And then also the other side of that is, to me, there's a lot of divisiveness at the club level. And I feel like if we work together a little bit better, I think it would just be better for everyone involved.
Yeah. And you have to remember that everybody knows everybody, right? So there's always something going on. There's always somebody could, know Patty Gasso, and we're out hanging out and talking, and one thing gets said wrong and then it gets back to her. So there's always something going on. This is a small world. And so I think that, yes, we can all work together, because at the end of the day, we're here doing it for the kids. So if you go out and you see someone on another team that's going to help me, you're probably going to say, hey, look at that kid, right? Yeah. It happens all the time. So yes, we can do that. And then, as far as being professional, there are ones that do it already. There's some that are trying to be that, but there's always going to be those guys that you go to because you can trust their opinion and you can trust the evaluation on a kid. And I think those are truly what make the club coaches professionals, right? Like, hey, I could go to that person for anything and they're going to give me honest feedback and a good evaluation, and, not just kind of sell me this kid because they want them to go to a Division I.
Right.
So I think that's the main thing there with that professionalism standpoint.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Is there anything else out there you'd like to get out? Anything that's on your mind, softball wise or recruiting wise, that people need to hear from a D1 college coach?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we all kind of say the same things. We're looking for genuine kids with good character, good grades, and that set themselves apart a little bit, doing something. You don't have to do everything great, but we like the kids that have 3 or 4 different tools that can go to 3 or 4 different positions and that really want to do it. And so that's us. I mean, recruiting this summer is going to be, go.
Yeah. Where are you going to be? Which ones are you heading up?
We'll definitely be. I have the Hawaii camp. We have. I have a couple up in Northern California, Elk Grove, LTG, Firecrackers, Lelis. So I have some things up there. We have obviously the bigger ones. So we have like Tulsa. We have the Top Gun. We have Kansas City. We have Colorado. Well, all 3, David, TJ, and myself will be in Colorado. We're in a really good spot. We need to kind of crack down on going into next year, get that taken care of. And then Colorado, we're going to be aiming for just 2026s, which is a really good position for us to be in. So just seeing some of those kids and putting in the work for the September 1 stuff and then hit the ground running on September 1. So it should be a good summer.
When you say Colorado, do you mean, are you going to go early for Patriot or for P5?
I will be at Patriot games this year. So I'm going to do that, do a couple camps on the 30th and the 1st, and then go into the Sparkler for a couple days, try to get out of there on like the 3rd of July and not get into the mess of it. But that should be plenty of time.
Sure.
Should be good. Sure. Should be fun.
Always a good time. Ava going with you?
Yes, she is. So that'll be
awesome.
Another good trip. So,
well, please make sure you tell her I said hello. I really appreciate you jumping on, and I wish you the best of luck in your time over the next week or so, especially with the portal and everything going on. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it will. Thank you so much, Randy. I appreciate it. This was fun.
You're welcome. All right. I just want to say thanks for listening. We will continue to grow the sport and elevate to get caught up those who are influential in the fast pitch community. And hopefully we can help you navigate your softball journey. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Caught Up with Randy Kaye or at Coach KAZ. You can listen on Spotify under Caught Up with Randy Kaye. You can also follow us on X and on Instagram using the same handles at Coach KAZ. That's at Coach KAYEAZ. Thanks again for watching and listening.